we move on to discuss the report that came out that said basically earlier this season, um, Woody Allen suggested to, I don't know who, but suggested, I guess, to the coaching staff that Aaron Rodgers should be benched. Or not Woody Allen, Woody Allen, the actor, Woody Johnson. And he suggested that Aaron Rodgers be benched according to this. Yeah, so a little bit over a month ago, the Jets' owner, Woody Johnson, he fired Robert Saleh. And according to some sources that were really tied to that organization and the Woody Johnson family, they were able to contextualize that it was an owner-driven move and that the conversations to the future of the franchise and mapping out, what eventually happened to Joe Douglas earlier this week, what could happen to General Manager Joe Douglas and then interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich and quarterback Aaron Rodgers. He spoke to them and he had a conversation amongst it. And the strong belief is that regarding all this is that if the Jets, if they were able to have a really good start, a good season this year, and they were able to make a good run in the playoffs, that Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas and all that they'll still be part of the setup. But everything started stumbling and fizzling out. They were making mid-season accusations like like Devontae Adams to save their season. And it is what it is. They're now 3-8, and it's just even I couldn't see this coming. And I say even but I was high on the Jets coming in. But even the people that were a little bit pessimistic about Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets and all that, I don't think they saw this coming. 3-8. I'm just so shocked. Like, this team was way better last season with Zach Wilson. And I'm not saying they're better last season. And I'm not saying the difference was the quarterback. Hell no. Hell no. I think Aaron Rodgers is playing much better football than what we saw of Zach Wilson this season. But overall, as a unit, the Jets have became a little stale. Defensively, you only get, in my opinion, a top defense. I guess like 3 years to be at that level, and then they slowly started fizzling, because it's hard. Defense is all about like continuity and all that, and when you're losing a key player here and there eventually because of contracts or any of that, you tend to lose that continuity, and and it creates certain black holes within the defense, and it becomes easy to take advantage of it, whether it's sometimes pass rush, secondary, all that. And I think overall with the Jets, defensively, they didn't take advantage of the top Jets defense when they had the opportunity to. Now the defense started slipping a little bit. I think offensively, they looked one-dimensional. Aaron Rodgers never really was able to get on the same rapport with a lot of his receivers early on this season. And also Woody Johnson, he's out here making these decisions to fire Ben Johnson, to fire Dan Campbell, to fire Joe Douglas. Apparently this rumor that he wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers. I can promise you that 99% Jets fans would want him fired, would want him to sell the team. But this is not, this is different than European football. Well, they'll make their voice known and they'll go out on the streets and protest about it. That won't happen here. There'll be a journalist here and there that calls him a terrible owner, and then that journalist will eventually get threatened to get fired, or he will have to report an apology, and it's like everything goes back to order once again. Everything's like so filtered here. And is it the fact that they're just fans are just more passionate in England compared to here, or not specific England, but Europe in general? I don't think that's the case. Obviously cultural difference has something to do with it as well. But overall, Woody Johnson is a big problem. Is a is a big problem with these Jets. I still think the emotional embarrassment of losing to a bunch of your constituents, because he was a former diplomat in that game against the against that Vikings, in which not Dan, uh, the name is mistaken in my mind. Uh, Woody Johnson. When you see the Jets lose to in front of, and Woody Johnson is a former diplomat to the UK. When you see your team lose in front of a bunch of diplomat in front of in London, next to all your constituents and your peers, it's a different level of embarrassment to it, and he almost made an emotional decision based on that. That's what I believe, and overall. Overall, how many head coaches, how many GMs, how many quarterbacks, how many rosters, how many years has he gone through and haven't had sniffed any success? In my football watching lifetime, Jets never made the playoffs. Jets never made the playoffs, and I don't remember. I didn't have cognitive memory of them. I know the Rex Ryan happened, and that era happened early 2010s, I believe, or late 2000s and all that. But I didn't see that team. Other than that, I've seen the mediocrity years of having Geno Smith, having Daniel Jones, having this guy, having that guy, the Sam Darnold there, and this. No continuity at the quarterback position. And when you never have continuity at the quarterback position, you cannot have continuity as an organization, as a team, because the quarterback is the most important position. You can argue in all of sports. The importance of a quarterback, that you don't have a quarterback, you're not moving the ball offensively. You're just not moving the ball offensively. The era, in any era, you don't have a quarterback, you cannot move the ball. Period. And yeah, Woody Johnson, he's just been terrible. He's been a terrible owner, and he wants to blame everything but besides himself. And yeah, regarding him wanting to suggest it to bench Aaron Rodgers again, it just proves my point regarding the fact that he made a point. It gives a little bit more validity to my theory that he made an emotional decision after losing in UK, in next to his constituents and all that. When you lose a game, and that game, I believe it was after that Broncos game, which was week 3 or something. When you lose that game, and that's one of their thoughts to come up, maybe suggesting that you bench Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers, that we know what he's done in his career. It just proves to me it's just way too emotional, and people at that highest level of decision making should never be making emotional decisions. That won't do any well to your team going forward, or it's just the truth there. But yeah, I'm a little surprised on how bad they've been. I thought this was a team that can go into the playoffs and compete with Kansas City and all them. Man, I was completely wrong.